Around 3 years ago, my friend and bandmate Neil bought this bass. It's a 1980s Fender contemporary bass made in Japan. It was the first time I had seen a vintage Japanese Fender, and I became intrigued. Almost a year later, I was in Seattle and I saw this guitar at the Trading Musician. It was a 1980s Fender Contemporary Telecaster with 2 humbuckers. I tried it out and I was blown away. The guitar played so good and it sounded great and it looked really cool. I had officially fallen in love with Japanese Fenders and I was starting to become obsessed with them. Now I'm not sure why these 2 guitars sparked an obsession. If I had to guess a reason, it would be that they were so different than the Fenders I saw at home. I had grown used to seeing the same Mexican and American Fenders in stores, so it was really cool and refreshing to see something so different and look so bold. When I came home from Seattle, I told myself I was going to find one of these guitars and immediately started looking at Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace. Eventually I found one, but before I talk about it, I want to give you a brief history about Japanese Fenders. In 1982, Fender began producing guitars in Japan at the Fujigen Maki factory. Prior to Fender's arrival in Japan, Japanese guitar companies such as Aria, Tokai, Greco, and many more were producing what are now known as lawsuit guitars. Guitars that were essentially unlicensed copies of Fender and Gibson style guitars. These guitars were very well made and were at a much cheaper price range than American guitars because of Japanese labor laws. Based on a multitude of reasons including CBS selling Fender and a rise in the mid-level import guitar lines, Fender started producing guitars in Japan. In 1984, Fender announced a Fender Contemporary line, which is also known as the Boxer Series line, with a Shaler System 1 Floyd Rose style bridge and pickup combinations that were common in super strats such as humbucker single-single configurations. This guitar seems like it was geared towards super strat players of the day. However, the only guitarists I could find using this guitar was Frank Black of the Pixies, and one singular photo of John Squire from the Stone Roses using it on Top of the Pops. But in the actual performances, he uses a different guitar. So let me know in the comments if you know of any other guitarists who use these guitars. I personally love this series of guitars. It was so different than anything Fender was doing up until this point. I personally love the idea of an HSS Telly with a Floyd Rose style bridge on it. They are super cool guitars and super unique, and they are not too expensive if you can find one, but a lot of them have been modified with either new tuners or a new coat of paint. If you want to learn more about Japanese Fenders, I highly recommend you watch 5 Watt World's video on it, as he goes way more in depth than I did. Alright, now back to the story about my guitar. About a month after I came back from Seattle, I saw this guitar on Kijiji. It was a Fender Contemporary made in Japan Telecaster, almost identical to the one I played in Seattle, and for almost half the price with conversion accounted for. But with one main issue. The guitar had been refinished to this yellow color. I'm sorry if you like the color, I personally do not like it at all. I was wary of this guitar because it had been refinished, but I decided that I was going to try it out. I went to the owner's place and more red flags became apparent. The locking nut was missing, the fine tuners at the System 1 trem were gone, the bridge pickup wasn't working, the pickup rings were broken, the frets were not great, there was divots in the fretboard, and it was missing a whammy bar. But despite all these red flags, I kept playing the guitar and I really liked it. The neck felt so good and the neck pickup sounded great. I had made up a story in my head that these divots in the fretboard were because the previous owner loved the guitar so much, and that one day it would be mine and I'd make even more. Knowing that this was the guitar I was looking for in Seattle, and that I would have to put some money into it, I decided that I wanted to buy it, so I bought it. And then I put it in a closet for almost 2 years. See, this guitar became a bit of an eyesore for me. I would look at it on my guitar rack and wonder, why on earth did I buy this guitar? I don't like how it looks. One of the pickups doesn't work. There's issues with the frets. Why did I waste my money? And what made matters worse was when I removed the backplate of the guitar. It was the exact same color as Neil's bass and the guitar I played in Seattle, a color I liked so much more than the banana yellow that I had. Eventually I had enough of looking at the guitar and I moved it into a case in my closet, so I wouldn't have to be confronted by it every single time I looked at my guitars. I would say I was going to fix the guitar, but honestly, I never really had any plans to do it. I was going to eventually maybe sell it for parts if I could. In early 2024, something changed. I pulled the guitar out from the closet and I tried it, and I kind of fell in love with it. The neck felt great. Sure, the pickup wasn't working, but I'd play it around the house unplugged all the time. I was playing it more than any of my other guitars. I decided that at that point I needed to go through with this process. I needed to get all the parts for it and get it officially repaired. Even if it wasn't going to be worth it for me, I wanted to see it through till the end, so I could at least use what I had. So, what did I need to get this guitar fixed? Let's check it out. In order to get this guitar up and running, I was going to need the following: 2 new pickups, new knobs that weren't spray painted, new pickup rings, new screws for the saddle, a new locking nut, new mini tuners, new whammy bar, potentially a new input jack, potentially new pots, and eventually a repair for the fretboard and new frets. So essentially, I was going to need a brand new guitar. The two things that I had to consider the most was parts for the bridge and pickups. The bridge on this guitar is a Shaler System 1 bridge. It is very similar to a Floyd Rose and is very much catered towards the 80s Super Strat guitars of the day. From what I understand, these bridges were only available on Japanese Fenders and are pretty rare. But let me know in the comments down below if you know any other guitars that use this bridge. Given that these bridges were only used for Japanese Fenders, finding parts was going to be really difficult. I could try and source out an original System 1, but that would be really expensive and honestly, it'd probably have issues with it as well. The bridge on my guitar was working and I wanted to keep it in and just repair it. I considered putting in a Floyd Rose on this guitar, but because of the size of the System 1, it would mean that the bridge socket would have to be routed out so much, and I didn't want to do that to this guitar. I looked all over the internet for parts and I finally came across two sites. Whammy Parts and Frets on the Net. I was able to get every single piece of the guitar I needed between these two websites. Both of these websites were super helpful to work with, and I'm super happy I discovered them. I'm not sponsored by them, they did not pay for any of the parts, I paid for everything with this guitar. I just wanted to highlight them for those of you who may need parts for your vintage Japanese Fenders. Check them out in the description down below, they have a lot of cool stuff. The most difficult decision for me about this guitar was deciding what pickups I was going to put in. I thought of so many different pickup combinations for this guitar. I thought about going humbucker single single, humbucker single humbucker, humbucker, then just single in the neck. I thought about everything and I wanted to try it, but I realized I was getting nowhere. I needed to stick with the limitations the guitar had, 2 humbuckers, and go from there. Once I decided that, it was a lot easier to pick the pickups, but now I had to decide which brand I was going to go with. I looked through so many different brands, Lawler, Bare Knuckle, Fralin, Seymour Duncan's, DiMarzio, you name it, I looked for it. Eventually, I decided on Sir. For the last 10 years or so, I've always dreamed of owning a Sir guitar. And I figured that by getting Sir pickups, I could live my Sir dream vicariously through this guitar. I ultimately decided on the Thornbucker 2 for the bridge pickup and a SSV neck pickup. I loved how both of them sounded and the clarity that they had, and I figured that any of them would be better than the broken bridge pickup I had. I'm really excited to hear how these will sound with the guitar. Over the last 4 months, I have been purchasing the parts for this guitar, and as of May 22nd, I own everything. I'm going to be giving this guitar to Neil to put together over the weekend. I know absolutely nothing about tech work, and he's an amazing tech, so I let him take care of all my guitars. I'm really excited to get this guitar up and running. It's been a long time coming, and I'm really excited to see if it was worth the wait. Today is June 18th, roughly a month since I've given Neil the guitar, and I wanted to give a little bit of an update on it because we've encountered some issues. So for the most part, all the hardware has worked great with the guitar. We've been having issues though with the bridge. So here is the Fender System 1 bridge. As you can see, the whammy bar has been replaced, the saddles that were previously rusty have been replaced and look good, and now there's actually fine tuners in the guitar, which is awesome, except for one of them. So all of these work as they should, but the low E string one here, as you can see, I just took it out with no effort. It's stripped on the inside, so I have to figure out what to do. But I'm going to take this to another tech that I know who specializes in Floyd Rose and like System 1 style bridges here in town and see if he can fix it. I really don't want to have to order another one of these fine tuners online because shipping is so bad from the States to Canada, but we will see if it has to come to that. But I really hope not. And it's a bit of a drag that this has happened because I really want to get this guitar going, but this is what I get for buying a $500 Japanese guitar that needs lots of work. All right, it's June 27th and I got the guitar. I haven't opened it yet and I'm super excited to check it out. So let's open this. I'm like scared, I don't know why. Wow, it looks so much better. Here's how it looks. Compared to how it was before, I like how this looks way more. Still think I'm gonna change the paint color, but you'll have to see here, if you can see it good. I have a different Floyd Rose screw on here, which I'm gonna explain later on. But overall, it looks super cool. Time to actually try it out. All right, this is the first time I'm playing this guitar through an amp. Let's hear how it sounds. The biggest issue that came up with this guitar was fixing the one fine tuner on the Fender System 1 bridge. I went to multiple shops here and most of them said I was doomed and that I wouldn't be able to fix this guitar without buying a new bridge. Thankfully, Rod from Acoustic Music Shop here in Edmonton was able to fix the guitar. He was able to route a Floyd Rose fine tuner into the Fender System 1 bridge. I was slightly concerned initially that it would look awkward on the guitar, but honestly you don't even notice it. So thank you so much Rod and Acoustic Music Shop for making this possible. It's been about 2 weeks since I got this guitar back, and I feel I can confidently speak on how I feel about this guitar. Overall, I absolutely love it. This project turned out better than I could have ever imagined. The neck plays great, but now it sounds awesome with the new pickups. The tremolo works great. Overall, I am so happy. I have even warmed up to the banana yellow color I used to hate. Now, I really like it, and I really think this guitar has a unique character to it. Overall, it was absolutely worth the 2-year wait to get this guitar working. I really wish though that I had fixed this guitar earlier rather than waited till now to do it, because I feel I wouldn't have bought some guitars that I have bought because this guitar would have replaced the need for them. It has already become the primary guitar that I use to write new music on, and I just love playing it. It's such a good guitar, and I'm so happy. Over the past 2 years, the same question has been in my head. Is it worth getting this guitar fixed? Well, here's how much I spent on the guitar to get it fixed. The prices include shipping and taxes and conversion. I spent $550 for the guitar, $439 for the pickups, $20 for knobs, $254.73 to fix the bridge, the saddles, get a new whammy bar, a new locking nut, etc. $100 for putting everything back together, and that leaves me with a total of roughly $1,364 Canadian. Earlier on in this video, I mentioned that I might need to get the fretboard fixed and get new frets for the guitar. I'm honestly enjoying how it plays now, and I don't really want to change anything right now. So for now, I'm not going to do anything about it. The other question I've had in my mind for the past 2 years is, would it have been better for me to buy that guitar in Seattle back in 2022? According to the July 2022 American dollar to Canadian dollar rate, I would have paid roughly $1,550 for the guitar, not including taxes, not including shipping, and not including duty. I'm not sure exactly how much it would have cost me, but let's just say everything was $100. If I had purchased the guitar in Seattle, I would have had to get new fine tuners, a locking saddle, and a whammy bar for it as well, because it was not included with the guitar. With all that in mind, I could expect to be probably paying roughly $1,900 to $2,000 Canadian to get the Seattle guitar up and running. Compare that to the $1,300.63 that I spent, I'd say I made a good decision. Unfortunately, I do not have the original color, but you know what? That's okay. You can't win them all. If an opportunity presented itself and I was able to get another Fender contemporary that needed some work done to it, would I do it again? 100% yes. I can't believe I'm even saying this, because when I started filming this video, I did not think this was going to be the conclusion to it at all. Overall, it was such a rewarding experience modding this guitar, and just seeing how it became a guitar that I couldn't even play, that literally sat in my closet for almost 2 years, to being my main guitar has been really astounding. I would be excited, in fact, to do this again if I could, but the next time I would like to fix it on my own and try and get better at doing tech work myself. If you have a story about restoring a guitar, please put it in the comments down below, as I'd love to read it. Lastly, I want to thank my friend Neil. Without him, this build would not be possible at all. Thank you for listening to my never-ending questions about pickups and for putting this all together. It really means the world to me, so thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a lot, and I'm Cole G, and I'll see you in the next one.